Could the Dodgers be bringing in a big-time left-handed starting pitcher? Maybe. Let's talk about it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. This is the daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can make it easier on yourself to become an everydayer. Someone's out listening watching every day. And the way you can make it easier on yourself is by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are here on Tuesday night. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. I'm Ben Samperio. That's Jeff Snyder. And we are the co-hosts of Locked On Dodgers. We've been doing this podcast here for 6 seasons now, heading into season 7. Once we get through this offseason, we've been covering the Dodgers for a decade now. And, we've seen a lot of Dodgers. We've talked a lot about the Dodgers, been in the press box, been in the locker room, interviewed players, all that type of stuff. And we're still here chugging along, talking about the Dodgers. And that's what we're here to do once again today, because it's the offseason. The Dodgers are World Series champions. And, after you become World Series champions, there's only one thing to do. Just get better and try to repeat, right, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of people want the Dodgers to run it back with the same team. They're definitely going to make some additions, some subtractions. There's definitely ways to improve this team. And one of those ways is the starting pitching, because as we learned last year and, last month, you can never have too much starting pitching.
Yeah, the Dodgers it seems to have entered the last few seasons with there's too many starting pitchers. And by the end of the season, they don't have enough starting pitchers to even get through a postseason series. So that's kind of how it ended up being this year. But the Dodgers had good enough starting pitchers and a good enough bullpen and a good enough offense, and they got all that done. And one of the ways to improve on that is to, like once you said, adding more pitching. And, with Tyler Glasnow being healthy and supposed to be back, for the start of the season, Clayton Kershaw, will be healthy at some point and be back at some point next season. You still have Yamamoto, you have Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, other guys coming back, but there is still ways to get better. And one of those ways the Dodgers could get better is by trading for a pitcher. And the one they've been linked to, we talked a little bit about it before, but Garrett Crochet, and we talked about it before at the trade deadline. We talked about it before in the last week or so. But the Dodgers continue to be named by multiple reporters as someone linked to Garrett Crochet. And it says that the White Sox, one of the reports, the White Sox are looking for position players. I kind of went through that a little bit when I talked about, the idea of Crochet. And, the Dodgers do have position players near the top of their prospect list. Once you get past, the first couple guys who probably going to be untouchable in this sense, right?
Yeah, there's going to be. Yeah, there's a couple guys who aren't going to get traded, but the Dodgers do have a ton of depth in their farm system still. And, when you look at their 40-man roster needs, the Rule 5 people, all that stuff, you can make a pretty good case that they need to make some trades this offseason, which we've said the last couple of years, and they have. Last year, we saw it was Michael Busch. They traded him for 2 guys who weren't on the 40-man roster, clearing out. So it's easy to see them making some trades like that, but also going after kind of a blockbuster like this. We have heard that at the trade deadline, the Dodgers were trying to get both Jack Flaherty and Garrett Crochet. They were ready to trade for both of them. The White Sox ended up not trading Crochet. It's easy to see why the Dodgers would be excited about Crochet. It's a lot of the same reasons, although a different role, as why they were excited about Michael Kopech. And we saw that the Dodgers were able to help maximize Kopech, and Crochet has, when we talk about stuff, he's got great stuff. And yeah, he did struggle a little bit in the second half of last season Some of that could have just been because he was playing on a historically bad team. Some of it was a career high in innings, all those things. But 2 more years of team control and that kind of stuff is just the kind of thing that you could definitely picture the Dodgers front office and pitching coaching staff salivating over.
Yeah, and even though it doesn't really matter at the end of the day for the Dodgers, he's going to have a cheap salary at least for next year specifically. If the Dodgers can get Roki Saki and trade for Garrett Crochet, those guys will make like combined like 2.8 million or maybe 3 million combined next year on the payroll. So that's a small part of it, but yeah, I think when it comes down to it, there's different ways to think about it. And when you think about it, it always comes down to prospects or money when you're trying to get a big time player. And Max Fried, Blake Snell, Corbin Burns, those guys cost money. Garrett Crochet would cost less money in the short term, but would cost you prospect capital. And I think the other part, and we didn't really mention it yesterday when we talked about Roki Sasaki, but it is a big point of interest, is that the Dodgers are going to be in a 6-man rotation next year. So for specifically Roki Sasaki real quick, like that makes the most sense because not a lot of teams are going to be able to field 6 pitchers quality enough to be, a 6-man rotation, or they would have to adjust around Roki, similar to the Angels doing so with Ohtani. That also kind of fits Garrett Crochet, even though he did make, he got through the season, he didn't get hurt. He had a lot of abbreviated starts there in the second half of the season, some because of ineffectiveness, some based on the plan for the White Sox. But I do think it makes sense for the Dodgers to go after these type of arms that aren't going to give you 30, 32 starts, but they're going to give you 25 plus great starts or potentially great starts. And, that really sets up the Dodgers to try to combat this health issue that they've had the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, when you look at, assuming they get Sasaki, you've got the 3 Japanese pitchers, Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki, who are used to the 6-man rotation. And then you've got Tyler Glasnow and, if it's Garrett Crochet, guys who would definitely benefit from the 6-man rotation. And then you've got Clayton Kershaw at some point. The rookies, the young guys, Bobby Miller, will be in his 3rd year, but still obviously trying to figure things out. Gavin Stone is he missing the whole season? I can't remember.
So.
I think he's missing the whole season. But Landon Knack and Justin Robleski and a lot of those guys. And even if they go after another starting pitcher, because like you said, if they sign Sasaki and trade for Crochet, that really doesn't affect their payroll at all. So there's still the money to go after a Max Fried or a Blake Snell or a Corbin Burns. All 3 of those guys, you can make a pretty good case, especially Fried and Snell. 6-man rotation would definitely benefit them. And even Burns. Like, Burns loves to go deep in games, but he could do that even better pitching every 6th day probably instead of every 5th. And so there's a ton of reasons why a guy like Crochet would appeal to the Dodgers. You also have the fact that the reason that last year, he threw 146 innings, and that was by far his career high, because he does have a history of health issues. And so, that I don't know if the lesson the Dodgers want to learn from 2024 is get more injury prone pitchers. But you know what? If you kind of accept the fact we're going to use 15 starting pitchers next year, well, we might as well have 15 starting pitchers we like, and obviously you can't have 15 guys, at least at the major league level. But you can kind of stack this up knowing, okay, we don't know for sure how much Glasnow, if he'll be available at the beginning of the season. We hope so. We don't know what to expect from Bobby Miller. We don't know when Clayton Kershaw will pitch. All those things, Garrett Crochet could definitely fit into that strategy of we're going to fill these 162 starts with a lot of different guys and just look for quality from whoever it is at the moment.
Yeah, I think, and Richard Flores leaves a comment here, we need healthy arms, not rehab projects. If there was a guarantee that, hey, this guy's going to be a healthy arm, I think, yeah, obviously the Dodgers would like that. But Max Fried has been a healthy arm, and, last year he got hurt. I don't remember if it was arm injury or not, but, he missed starts last year. You had Blake Snell miss starts this year. Wasn't because of an arm injury, but, he did miss starts. So the Dodgers are going for high-quality talent, and sometimes that high quality talent comes with a little bit of risk. The Dodgers have the ability to take that risk because they're going for the depth. They have the quality and quantity. Not a lot of teams can do that. And if you're going to put $200 million into Corbin Burns, just because he's been healthy up to this point or healthy-ish, that doesn't mean he's going to be healthy, once he pitches for the Dodgers. If anything, you might flip it the other way. If he's healthy his whole career, that means he's probably bound to get injured. So, there's no guarantees. The Dodgers can go for high-quality talent. It's worked out for the most part. Obviously, not having guys available in the postseason isn't great, but it worked out in 2024. So.
Yeah, and I don't care if they miss 4 months of the regular season if they're available in October, available and effective. So there's a lot of different ways to build a roster, and it makes sense that they're exploring this particular one.
Yeah, if we start getting more Crochet rumors, we'll definitely talk maybe more specifics. I talked about Dalton Rushing and Josue DePaula, probably guys that aren't going to be in that deal, but the next tier of guys could be. So we'll talk about it. And we're going to talk about Silver Sluggers next because the Dodgers had 3 Silver Sluggers and a Team Silver Slugger award. So let's talk about it, but make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Select Quote, the World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. You invest so much time, it's time to take care of yourself and be the healthiest, best version of you. Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort, and these policies are more affordable than you think. You can get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 per month. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that can get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million, no medical exam required. So head to selectquote.com, and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Select Quote, they shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. That's selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your one of the listens of your day. First listen of the day, last listen of the day, whatever it is. If you're listening to Locked On Dodgers every Monday through Friday or Sunday through Thursday, we appreciate you. And make sure to keep on listening as we go through the entire offseason for the Dodgers. There'll be more awards like we're going to talk about right now. There'll definitely be some trades probably. There'll definitely be some free agent signings and maybe even a surprise or two as the Dodgers seem to give us every offseason. So make sure to stick with us. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Make sure you stay covered on all areas, whether it's LA sports or all sports, with Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Jeff, the Dodgers. You talked yesterday about the one finalist they have for the major award. That was Shohei Ohtani and the MVP. Well, the Dodgers got some awards on Tuesday. We found out Shohei Ohtani, Teoscar Hernández, and Mookie Betts all took home Silver Sluggers, and the Dodgers as a whole took the Team Silver Slugger Award. Really no surprises there, but pretty solid that the Dodgers had 3 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. They had 2 other guys who were finalists, Freddie Freeman and Will Smith. I don't think with Bryce Harper and William Contreras existing, I don't think anybody expected the Dodgers to win those 2. So, yeah, it was the 3 that we expected. I don't know that I don't remember ever hearing of the Team Silver Slugger Award before. Maybe it's just because
I think it's only a couple years old.
Okay. But, yeah, I mean, that also wasn't surprising. It was, I guess the Dodgers barely beat out the Diamondbacks for that one, and that was the competition. But, yeah, when you have 3 guys winning a Silver Slugger, 2 other finalists, chances are you had a pretty good offensive team, and the Dodgers definitely did. I was surprised to see that this is the first time the Dodgers have ever had 3 Silver Sluggers in one season. I remember Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier both winning it the same year, and I guess I just kind of assumed somewhere along the line that they would have had 3 guys. They had they've had a lot of good players over the years. So it was a little surprising to me, but that's yet another historic thing that the Dodgers did in 2024.
Yeah, I think offensively, it's one of those where, like, Justin Turner was a really good hitter at third base, but third base at that time was a really, Nolan Arenado, there was other guys there maybe battling. Cody Bellinger was good one year, good not one year. And even going back, to the other guys, like they always had one or two main guys. And then, a lot of, like I said, good depth overall, but maybe not top tier guys. And then this time, Freddie, Mookie, and Shohei are the top tier guys, but Teo's a top tier offensive player, and he showed that. So, yeah, it was one of those things where the offense was the constant for the most part for this Dodger team. Constant in the sense of they always had two of the three of the top guys, and they always had, Teo was there the whole year. And some other guys were there the whole year, maybe not good at hitting, but it wasn't as much it was Mookie's injury was the main one. But the Dodgers didn't have too many other injuries. Like Will Smith was there the whole year. He just didn't hit the second half of the season. So there were different things to go about it. But, Mookie's racking up the Silver Sluggers. Shohei's racking up the Silver Sluggers. Teo, I believe this is his second one. Maybe his first. I don't remember.
I think I saw it was his third.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
So, there's I got confused with him and the All-Star appearances and everything else. But either way, it's one of those where you realistically, wherever, if Mookie goes to second base next year, he's probably going to win it again. Even if he stays in the outfield, he'll probably win it again. Shohei's probably a safe bet to continue to win it. And then the Dodgers will, find different guys to plug in and play out and see what happens in the future. But, the individual awards, I know these guys don't care about them as much, but they do care about them in the sense of they've already gotten the World Series. So why not, add on some of these other things?
Yeah, absolutely. It is Teoscar's third. He won it back-to-back years with the Blue Jays in 2020 and 2021. He's also only the fourth Hernandez ever to win a Silver Slugger. I'm saying Livan Hernandez won it with the Expos, and Keith Hernandez. Oh, so only the third. Keith Hernandez won it once with the Cardinals, once with the Mets. But I was looking at the previous Dodgers years, and they have a few years had two Silver Sluggers. Often it's a pitcher involved, which obviously doesn't apply anymore. In 1981, they had Fernando Valenzuela and Dusty Baker. And then in 1988, they had Tim Leary and Kirk Gibson. In 1993, they had Mike Piazza and Oral Hershiser. But then in 95, it was Piazza and Karros. And then I mentioned Kempenethier in 2009. And then Trey Turner and Mookie Betts in 2022. I think that's all the times that they've even had two Silver Sluggers. So having three this year is pretty darn impressive, pretty cool, and kind of shows, like, obviously the Dodgers didn't have to win the World Series this year, but I've always said the best way to give yourself the best chance is put together as good a team as possible. And this Dodgers team, they can hit a baseball, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's it on the offensive side. There have been some pictures coming from Dodger Stadium that have shown that they're changing some things around. What exactly are they? And, is it going to affect your fan experience? Who knows? Or maybe we do know. We'll talk about it next. Make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Continue to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. That's also the same place where you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. So you go place your bet, you go find those stats, you go find the play-by-play. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, all you got to do is go to the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and you can do everything you need to do from there. And remember, if you place a $5 bet, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. If that $5 bet hits, easy one for you. The Raiders are playing the Dolphins on Sunday in Miami. Raiders not good in Miami. Raiders not good this season. Miami's got Tua back. They're playing better. Take the Dolphins, and you'll probably win $150 in bonus bets after that if you put $5 on it. So go to FanDuel.com to join. Get your $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch, and make everyone more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. thank you for being an everydayer if you are one. An everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. A few of you here in the chat. Well, I'm sure there's more of you listening at home or wherever you may be. And we appreciate all of you everydayers. And if you're not an everydayer yet, listen or watch every day. Boom, you're an everydayer. You can also, just up your Locked On Dodgers listing by one episode. If you're not ready for that full commitment of an everydayer, just up it by one episode, and we appreciate you as well. So, and you can be on the podcast. Come Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Get text directly from us with any news or updates or rumors or anything else that goes on in the Dodger world. We'll keep you up to date with that. If you can't keep up to date with yourself sometimes or by yourself sometimes, social media is maybe not everyone's favorite place right now. So we'll fight that battle for you. So, all right, Jeff, there's been photos, announcements, different things about Dodger Stadium and getting some major work done. The Dodgers are upgrading the clubhouses at the stadium. I don't know if upgrading is the word, but the baseline club seats are getting adjusted. Maybe I would assume upgraded. You're always going to want to get better. And yeah, I don't know. It might not affect too many people here because you're not probably going to get to go in the clubhouse very often. But baseline club different. I'm sure there will be other little upgrades here and there. But the one thing that really stands out to me about all this is Dodger Stadium, never stops trying to improve. And obviously it's a lot has to do with the Guggenheim partners, and ever since they came in and, the Jenny Smith, who's kind of adjusted and helped out rearranging and helping out Dodger Stadium become more fan-friendly, more modern, more updated, all that type of stuff. And, for one of the oldest stadiums in all of baseball, Dodger Stadium, for me, continues to be one of the best stadiums in all of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And these updates they're making kind of underscore one of the advantages that the Dodgers really try to take advantage of, which is there are limits even for the richest team in baseball on how much they can spend on payroll, because there's the luxury tax, there's penalties there that can actually affect, if it was just money, I think the Dodgers wouldn't worry about it at all, but it actually affects, your draft position and your international draft pool or international signing bonus pool, all those things. So there are limits on how much you can spend on the team, the actual roster. There aren't limits on how much you can spend on your stadium. And so when you are looking at how do we attract free agents, in addition to the money, in addition to the winning, hey, we saw Teoscar Hernández came to the Dodgers because he wanted a chance to win a World Series. And now that he's done it, he wants to stay with the Dodgers. In addition to all those things, they can also spend this money to make it you're going to spend, if you sign with the Dodgers, you're going to spend 12, 13 hours a day at Dodger Stadium. Let's make it comfortable. Let's make it the best place you can be. That means top of the line training equipment, top of the line comfort, top of the line everything. And that appears to be what the Dodgers are doing. That's, I don't know if they're making changes to baseline club or if they just had to tear baseline club out so that they could access everything they're doing to the clubhouse. But whatever it is, it seems like this is very much a player-focused update. And the fact that the Dodgers, I saw one report that said they're spending about $100 million on this update to the stadium. And it's stuff that the fans are, like you said, hardly ever even going to see. This is clearly a way they're saying, we want this to be the top organization in baseball in every way, including how well we take care of our players. And that's a big deal. And I think it's very smart of them to use their financial advantages in ways that only have positive effects.
Yeah, we've seen them use it, obviously on field, but also, in the minors. Like, they were one of the first teams, if not the first team, to provide meals for players all the time. And not just sandwiches and cookies or whatever else. Like, they were legitimate meals for minor leaguers. They've been able to spend on player development. They've been able to spend on, player development isn't just coaches, isn't just, things. It's mental coaches. It's, maybe not driveline specific guys, but driveline equipment, Rapsodo, all that type of stuff. Like, they can use all that. They have a big analytics department, which analyzes a bunch of different things. Like, there's different ways to get these advantages. And, like you said, it makes sense for the Dodgers to take advantage of what they have. I know that not to directly correlate it, but if AJ Przinsky has a source apparently in the Dodger organization, he said they made 120 million off Shohei alone this year. A lot of that maybe going to some bank or something to pay him down the line, but a lot of that could go back into the team. The Dodgers had a big playoff run, that all that extra money at the gates, that can go back into the team, and I think that's the biggest part of it. And there was a release a couple weeks ago on Twitter I saw where it was like related to the amount of revenue compared to the amount spent on the team. And the Dodgers were one of the top teams in that, in the sense of just as much as they're making, they're putting back into the team. And I think that, just goes to show where the commitment is for the owners. The owners don't really blink an eye anymore. And it doesn't seem like Andrew Friedman has too many restrictions anymore. And, the only restrictions they can put on themselves now is, draft pick slots and all that type of stuff. But when you're winning, all that stuff doesn't matter as much.
Yeah. Another example I heard about of the Dodgers spending money on their people is the World Series. When the World Series went to New York, the Dodgers took everybody. The players flew on one plane. The players' families all flew together, and pretty much all the Dodgers employees. They took 5 or 6 airplanes worth of people to New York for the World Series. Like, that's just this is a World Series for the organization, and that's how you build loyalty among your people. I imagine how much more motivated those people are to do their best work, knowing that there's so many cool perks in it for them. And that trickles down to the players too. Like a player who, we talked about Garrett Crochet and how maybe his struggles had to do with pitching for the worst team in baseball last year. Think of the opposite experience of playing for a team that is always trying to win, always going to put the best team on the field, and is going to give you the best equipment, the best resources to help yourself be the best player you can. Like it's just a no-brainer that unless you hate the Dodgers or you really need to be the superstar, why wouldn't you seriously consider coming to the Dodgers if you're a free agent? Because they offer everything that a team could possibly offer to a player.
Yeah. And, you get to live in Los Angeles where you're not going to have a rain out, and you're not going to have to deal with any of that. So
not very often. Also need a shout out. Our buddy Pat Dwyer is the one who, in our insiders group, he texted us asking about the renovations. Got me. I had heard about it, but I hadn't looked into it a ton. So thanks to Pat for the question. So Pat's always awesome.
Yeah, I know it doesn't directly relate to the team, but if the Dodgers are going to be making renovations, I would love for them to renovate the press box and press box area, because that is the one thing about the old stadium that they can't really do too much about, or if they do, it would really move stuff around. Just going between Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium, and even all the other stadiums I've been to, Dodger Stadium, especially when it comes to big things like the playoffs, like the World Series, like All-Star Game. Not the best equipped for that, but that's just me putting in a plea for somebody that gets to work there.
Yeah, the game of baseball has not changed a ton since 1962 when the stadium opened, but the game of media definitely has. And so, yeah, when TV was barely a thing, not like barely like it had just started, but the way games were televised was so much different back then, and the internet obviously didn't exist. And they needed a press box that could hold a TV broadcast, a radio broadcast, and 6 or 8 newspaper reporters, and what they have would be great for that. But yeah, it is something that they might have to expand, do like a double decker, take up some of the loge section and expand upward rather than outward if they were going to expand the press box. But yeah, that's something I'm sure they're thinking about. I'm sure they're looking into ways to do it, because that's something that would benefit the coverage of the team, which could end up benefiting the team.
Yeah. So, like I said, we shall see. Dodger Stadium gets renovations almost every offseason, and sometimes we hear about it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's a big time deal, like $100 million. Sometimes it's not. But either way, we're going to be out there next year and be enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Jeff, you got anything else? I know there's still so much for us to talk about. We haven't even gotten into specific free agent. We haven't even talked about all the Dodger free agents, let alone the free agents that are out there. But anything for right now?
Later this week we should probably do like a run it back episode. I know we've talked about Teo. You did a whole section on Teo in one of your solo episodes. But yeah, like you said, we haven't talked about Kike and Trinan a whole ton, and all those people, Joe Kelly. So we could probably do a whole run it back episode with some thumbs up and thumbs down on some of those guys. So maybe we'll try to do that later this week.
Yeah, there's still a lot to get into. We're also trying to work on, some special guests for this off season. Hopefully some of these come through, and you never know what happens. We might be able to get somebody on here, or a World Series champion on here. I know we're all, Daniel Hudson told us we're all World Series champions, but we could find the ones that were actually on the field being World Series champion.
I saw my neighbor Doug across the street from me today. He's an everydayer and big Dodger fan. And I just said, "Hey, champ." And he said, "Hey, champ." So yeah, we're champs.
Yeah, there you go. And before we get done, I want to shout out Skip. I was at the dog park a couple of days ago, and some guy saw my Dodger hat, asked if that was a World Series hat. We started talking, very knowledgeable about the Dodgers, and then we got into what I do for work and everything else, and blah blah blah. And then he said, "Oh yeah, I host a Dodger podcast on the side." And he said, "Oh, I listen to you every day." He's like, "No wonder your voice sounded a little familiar." So yeah, so appreciate you, Skip. And anyone else out there who listens every day, who is in every day, we appreciate.
Do you have a dog, Vince?
Yeah. Well, now I have a dog. My girlfriend has a dog, and now I have a dog. So.
I see.
Yeah. So
I've got 4 cats because I have a wife. So.
Yeah, and his name is Bellinger. So you can see around what time she got him. So
nice. I have a cat named Dusty. That's the closest I come to a Dodger name. So
there you go. That works. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network. They're running 24/7 on YouTube. Go check them out. You can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. A few bucks a month, get text directly from us, keeping you up to date on the Dodgers. If you're not able to, you can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's is on Twitter at SnyDog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, LockedOnDodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tear smart device play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.